creating cultural awareness and understanding. This is Culture Clique. Culture Clique is written and produced by KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University.
Today on Culture Clique, we continue our series Legalizing Marijuana in Minnesota with Justin Johnson, co-founder of Rippled Leaf Farms. Rippled Leaf Farms is a family dedicated to transparent and sustainable hemp farming. They dedicate their business to producing high-quality CBG hemp products. Today we talk about how Rippled Leaf found a home in Winona, some of the aspects of growing hemp at scale, and how new legislation is shaping up around cannabis growing and sales in Minnesota. This is Ryan Flanders with Justin Johnson from Rippled Leaf, today on Culture Clique. Okay, so I got Justin from Rippled Leaf on the phone here. Justin, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, Justin, if you just want to start off with kind of who you are and what you guys do at Rippled Leaf.
Yeah, so my name is, like I said, Justin Johnson. I'm the president of Rippled Leaf. So what Rippled Leaf does is we started as a hemp farm back in 2020. All four of us left college in our junior year and found investors to start a hemp farm right when CBD was in its big boom in the state. And a new cannabinoid called CBG we knew was coming right down the pike. So we got early genetics on that and ran up north a little bit west of Duluth to start a cannabis farm or hemp farm. And we built greenhouses by hand. We learned to farm. We just love the farming side. We've always been pretty into plants and just kind of the free nature that farming gives you. It's a lot of work, but it's also work that you decide. So it feels very purposeful, and farming hemp is an absolute blast. So that's where we really got the love of the plants. Then, as we know, COVID came that spring, so the business it took a little bit of a detour. We got shook up there. Instead of being big kind of wholesale farmers, we had to switch to retail farmers at the end of 2020, because that was when, of course, Delta 8 came out. So we had a big switch there. So once Delta 8 was there, that kind of was the eclipse. Nobody wanted CBD and CBG, so we had to shift. And that's when I started going around to stores and doing sales to any tobacco shop or hemp shop that would have us. That got pretty boring driving. It was a lot of driving, so we did about 4 hours from our farm to the cities. So doing that enough, we're like, okay, we need to find a location that we can put down some roots, as well as there's in the beginning there we had to find a really niche hemp shop that was going to be kind of advocating for quality. So back then it was kind of like the Wild West. You got all of these labs producing oils that weren't tested, or that you didn't know quality of everything. So, but their prices were pretty low. So that's really nice for tobacco shops or just somebody that's looking for margins. But our stuff was really high quality, and we charged a bit more for it. So we're like, hey, we need to open up a retail location where we can start championing our product and showing consumers what they should be asking for, the testing they should be asking for, how this is going to affect them, the knowledge around hemp and cannabis, and just this whole industry kind of seemed like nobody was at the helm. So we wanted to find our community and just start talking to people face to face about that. And that's what led us down to Winona is just seeing a lack of that in the industry. So we wound up in Winona, and we picked Winona because my grandparents and my whole family, both sides, are from Red Wing area. So I grew up hiking the bluffs and on the river, and like we don't need to be 4 hours or 5 hours away anymore. We can be a little closer for family too. So, oh my gosh, we toured Winona, and it was just it was perfect. We went there on my birthday, and we were like, I wonder if there's a shop. We'll walk the streets. So we got a nice little Airbnb. We're walking around, and then the block of Blooming Grounds, where Blooming Grounds is. We went in there, got a coffee. We're like, 3rd Street's sweet. I wish we could find a shop there. And as we were walking down, we saw a big for rent sign, and right away we called, got a tour for like the next day, and we'd signed the lease in like 3 days. So it was just kind of perfect. So that's how we ended up in Winona.
So that happened real quick. So is your guys' farm still based up in the Duluth area then?
Yes. Yep. We're up in Duluth, and it's pretty perfect for hemp farming up there and cannabis farming, as we'll get into. But yeah.
Okay. All right. And so you mentioned kind of the the shifts you've had with the different types of cannabis and hemp as the legislation keeps evolving and changing over the years.
Yes.
Right now, you guys mainly offer kind of like the CBG products, correct?
CBG, and then we do low potency. So everybody
Okay.
in Minnesota is legal for low potency edibles, and that's our, the biggest seller is gummies and drinks, and gummies and drinks.
Okay.
Those are probably the biggest. Some
Okay.
salads, but mostly those.
Okay. And so then what are the biggest differences between like CBG, CBD, and THC?
So THC has a high to it. So that's psychoactive. When you think of out west, California, Colorado, Oregon, you go out there and you smoke cannabis. The active ingredient that's going to be having a big effect on your altered state of consciousness is THC. There's 190 cannabinoids that we know of right now, plus in the cannabis plants, and that's where you start getting CBD and CBG. There are cannabinoids in there. They're just not psychoactive. So we look at kind of the different levels of effect that different cannabinoids have, and of course it's subjective per person, but mostly CBG is known as kind of it's very relaxing, good for pain, but it's not going to have any noticeable impact on you're not going to be high from it, so it's not going to have any noticeable impact on consciousness. CBG, however, steps up a little bit. It's still not psychoactive, but it's very relaxing. So if you imagine if you've ever done a nice meditation, or if you've done any breathing exercises where you take 30 deep breaths in a row and you get this kind of released feeling of calm, maybe there's tension that you've been holding in for me, it's in my in my head. I'll just have that little stress I've been carrying around. CBG really helps alleviate that, and it's more noticeable than CBD, and it's also not going to put you to sleep as much as CBD is. So you get little differences, but the big one is THC is psychoactive. CBD and CBG are not psychoactive.
I see you guys have products that have a mixture of the three, and so that is something that is completely safe for consumption for recreational use.
Oh yes, and it's much better than isolated. So, like I said before, the plant naturally will have about 190 in the mix, and this is what's known as the entourage effect. So the cannabis plant's very balanced, especially before we start modifying it and selectively breeding to get that THC way up to crazy percentages. The plant naturally balances itself, so CBD and CBG help reduce paranoia and then increase the amount of euphoria you feel. So sometimes a user will say, "Oh my God, I get so paranoid from these gummies," and the reason that they get or one of the reasons that they could be getting paranoid from these gummies is because it doesn't have any CBD and CBG to balance out that psychoactive effect. So they get this psychoactive compound THC with no natural balance like it does in nature. You have CBD, CBG, and 100 other 80 or 90 cannabinoids to balance that psychoactive experience out. And that's what we wanted to do for our gummies, was look at the plant. What is the plant doing to make this more enjoyable? Because everybody loves smoking the flower. They are like, we don't feel paranoid. And we just kind of started experimenting with mixes, smoking. And then we thought, this is so much better. Let's put it into our gummy mix too.
Okay. And so then when you spoke earlier about like kind of the lower quality oils in that you can find in some tobacco shops, is that lower quality coming from not looking at that balance?
It can be accentuated by that. So you can have bad oil, but then you can, not have a balance in there and be like, wow, this is, something weird is happening here. But also it could just be that you're growing a plant and the plant's coming from California, or the plant is coming from, it could be any farm, but say the plant's coming from California. They don't have as tight of grow regulations as we do. It's getting sprayed by pesticides. It's being grown in a field with heavy metals. It could have mold on the plant that wasn't fully extracted out. All the oil that we use has to go through 5 levels of testing, and basically that oil might just not have gone through the testing, and the people that are buying the oil or buying the end product of the gummies aren't checking about that testing before they give it to the consumer. Luckily, a lot of Minnesotan companies, basically any Minnesotan company that's going to be hemp specific, is going to have great products, good oil, because they don't want to be caught with their pants down and not get a dispensary license because of it. So you get some really good products now that the market is getting more regulation. And Yeah, that was the key.
Okay. And so Minnesota, are they kind of at the forefront of that kind of higher level of regulation?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, we did weird stuff. Minnesota was we were the kind of the pioneers of, we limited just Delta 9 in our legalization process early on. Legalization air quotes. It was just, we didn't legalize. It was before August. We said, okay, you can't have 0.3 THC and below. That was the 2018 Farm Bill, is considered hemp, and that just motivated so many scientists to go out there and say, well, there's like I said, 190 cannabinoids. A lot of these are psychoactive. Let's just condense them, isolate them, and take them out, and then you can put that in products, and you get something that's going to be very psychoactive. So we had a lot of different stages of regulation once we saw different products coming out like that.
And so then kind of the slow approach to legalization, that or full THC legalization in Minnesota, would you say that has really benefited the industry?
I don't know. I think it could have been done better in a lot of ways. So I see the slow approach. I think they should have kind of researched the plant more before they put the rules around it. It would have helped negate a lot of these kind of more minor cannabinoids like THCP, HHC, these psychoactive ones that were really unregulated for a while. We didn't know what the effects of them were, and that was just a direct impact of how we legalized. I think we could have taken a little bit more from Colorado's book, or just said, hey, 5 milligrams of THC, this is going to be fine, but not all these minor cannabinoids. And again, some people are really for it. I saw it as a kind of an open door for synthetics, as well as just unregulated oil coming in. And that wasn't, I think we've definitely switched that now. We've changed that with our last legalization bill in August. So I think we did get to the right place. I just think it opened up kind of a wild west for a little bit there, where you saw really, really high potency products that we don't know the long-term effects of. Those are off the market now, but we did see that for a little bit.
And so then is legislation, do they communicate with wholesale farms like you in trying to do some sort of background research on the plant at all?
Not much. I mean, maybe some of the big guys out there, but for us, it was very strange how little communication we had, especially in the beginning years. And then recently, I have to say, they've gotten better at communicating with us, especially with this new, after August legalization was passed. They have become better. So I don't want to, say they're not doing enough, but earlier on, when the hemp program was just starting, it was kind of like you go to the website, you email a bunch back and forth with whoever's the rep at the hemp office, and you're trying to get answers about, okay, what needs to be legally on a bag? Is Delta 8 really legal, or are they about to snap down on a bunch of farms or snap down on a bunch of producers? So it was a very strange place. Especially our focus has always been to get a cannabis or a dispensary license and a cannabis grow license. So we really didn't want to push the boundaries, and it opened up a very strange part of the industry where it was the businesses that push the boundaries the most, even selling illegal products right now, are the ones that make the most money in this industry. So it was really, I feel like, incentivizing negative or bad players instead of giving really clear rules and clear expectations for the people that want to do a good job, and then enforcing that. So that's where I feel like we need to get better at that. And we are. The industry is growing, but yeah.
And so what kind of communication do you have with them now that it's better?
Now that it's better, we have, so there's emails being sent out, mostly emails. Emails, I'll call in every once in a while if I have a big question, but usually you get the most response with an email. And at first, you email 3 different organizations and they all say that the other person is responsible for the question. But now that we have more clear roles defined for the Office of Cannabis Management in Minnesota, we have a more direct line, and then our attorney is really good at getting answers. So I've learned to just use our attorney and ask her the question. She will find the answer, and she's brilliant. So we stick with her now. I try not to search too much.
Delegate those kind of jobs. play to the strengths of each individual in the company,
Exactly.
right?
I'll spend 5 hours and she'll get back to me in 30 minutes, or she'll already know. And I'm like, okay, this is,
Yeah.
I got to stop trying to do this.
Yeah, this is not my role.
No.
So currently, how are you guys able to, branding wise, marketing wise, like packaging and that, what are some of the regulations you have to follow?
So right now, for packaging wise, your bag needs to be child proof. It needs to apply with, like, you can't have any animals or any characters on it. You need to be under 5 milligrams of THC per serving and 50 milligrams per package. Those are the main ones. I know there's a few more that are, we apply with. We have a packaging, my partner, fiance, she's our packaging designer, as well as partner in the business, and she handles all of our packaging. So she can rattle off those, restrictions. I think mostly of those big ones. What's on the bag? Can kids get into the bag, and are you appealing to kids? And then you have, of course, your cannabinoid limit. Those are the big ones for us.
Okay. So probably similar to what you would see for tobacco regulations.
Yes. Yep. Very similar.
So now as they're rolling out more legislation for you guys, as you guys have made shifts in the past, how are you guys preparing for this next shift?
Yeah. So right now we're looking, there's a lot of different licenses. As you may know, there's just, so we're picking up the license that best fits our company and, what we like to do. So there's what we like and then what we're good at. So of course we're looking at farming. Can we fit in farming? That's an expensive license. I guess it's mostly looking at what we want. So we want to be able to farm and we want to be able to retail. That's always been our sweet spot. We love farming. So I think, it's always been kind of the dream of providing people what I believe is the highest quality cannabis experience you can have. And I love the idea of being kind of a microbiology farmer. So we farm organically, but not just that. We really focus on growing the microorganisms in the soil that kind of create the best experience for the plant to be able to pull what nutrients it needs out of the soil without bogging it down with all these fertilizers. Because cannabis farming is just rife with a ton of kind of, some say bad, others just say not the best fertilizer to use. So I really like building an incredible super soil and something that gets better and better each year. We add natural compost or vermicompost, and you get just some transcendental plants. I mean, they're awesome. So I've been learning about that and doing it on small scale. I'm very excited to bring that to people. But then also, some of my favorite times have been in the shop when you get to talk with people. We've had people come in and, on some days, some slow days, we had people come in and, just sit down and play chess, and we talk about cannabis, and it was really cool. The Winona community is something very special. So interacting with that is, I want both.
Yeah.
I don't want to give either one up.
And so you've talked a lot about how, you really are into the kind of biology and chemistry in growing. Do you guys have a background in chemistry or biology, or is this something you've picked up?
So I've picked it up, but then all three of my partners have, Josie has had a background in chemistry and biology, and then Harry and Ryan were both horticulture majors. And I was philosophy and then business, global business, I think is what they call it. But those were my majors. And I got so curious once I got started to talk about plants and then get into it. It was eye-opening on just the different methods of farming. And then we also had when I was younger, my dad got sick with Lyme disease. And that was a big spur of getting into this business, was back in 2012 when it was legalized in Colorado. My dad had been sick for, I think it was nearing 8 years by then. And he was doing, he did stints at Mayo. He had just always the doctor visits, and it got bad enough where he was bedbound. Nurse would have to come, and it was really sad for the whole family because he was incredibly active. He was kind of the influence that started me hiking, big road biker, those guys that do like 100-mile rides. And,
Yep.
Like, what the heck? So seeing him go to that was crazy. And really scary. And we finally went out to Colorado in 2012 just to see if cannabis would help. And that was the first time we went hiking together again. And he said his headache, it was like he had a splitting headache for 24 hours of the day. And he said it was the first time he didn't have one. And kind of seeing that, I was like, oh, wow, this has a place to impact a lot of people really positively. And of course, there's in anything you can misuse it, but this is something that would, really brought my dad back to a person we recognized, and that was really cool. So seeing that, and then knowing how does the way you farm it impact the person that's going to be using it. So if you use pesticides, if you use, bad farming methods, we've seen plants impact. That's where you get kind of sketchy or oil, you get bad plants, and you just don't get as good of an experience. So all of that coming together, and then curiosity with the plant really spurred me just reading and pretty much anything I can get my hands on. And you can go on YouTube and see lectures, which is so cool now. And you can just take notes on that like you're in the classroom again. So yeah, that's how I've been learning about it now.
Yeah, and I like what you said about how it starts at the beginning, where if you farm it well and put that kind of that high quality effort into it, at the end it kind of erases the stigma around cannabis. It's not just in some guy's basement, something that you grew. This is an actual legitimate business that you can do now.
Oh, definitely. And one of the things to tie into that is it's really expensive and a lot of work to get a farm that is producing really, really high quality cannabis on a very large scale. So there's some farms that want to be 2-3 acres or 30,000 square feet of indoor, and there's going to be those big players that come in. But what's really cool is you can have a great profit for a small farm. Up in it doesn't have to be, it can be 5 people operation or 3 people operation farming a few really high quality plants, and they can make a good living on that. And I think that is one of the coolest aspects of how we're going to be going, or how Minnesota hopefully will be going about legalization, is that if we give out a ton of different licenses to small farmers and Minnesotans as a whole value high quality products, we would have so many small businesses being able to pop up, and so many farmers right now that need new sources of income. And this would be just a perfect shoe-in.
Yeah, instead of getting all the big Walmart kind of companies just flooding in. Yeah, it would be a really cool local small business thing. And definitely.
Yeah, and that's where this is so important, is you showing people, educated consumers are the only thing that's going to keep small businesses open, and you educating them and having interviews and showing them the resources. It's essential to keeping Minnesota cannabis alive. That'd be,
and you guys are doing great work too. I mean, I've been in to Rippled Leaf. I mean, it's a wonderful atmosphere you guys have going on in there, and just really, it isn't like walking into tobacco shop. It feels more, it's like almost like a boutique kind of specific shop.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what we were going for. There's so many. My grandma was one of the people that was first really impacted by our gummies, and she had multiple hip replacements, knee replacements, just in a lot of pain from surgeries, and didn't like taking opioids. So we gave her one of our more high potency edibles. This was back before those were I guess before we had that potency cap. And she was just like, this is so much better. So we wanted to really make our shop into something that would appeal to those that are, older. And that's our big demographic, is older than probably 30 to 70. We have a really wide net, but it's not the college, attraction that we kind of thought with 2 colleges in the town. And we get mostly young professionals, but then all the way up to 70s. And it's really cool, especially when you get veterans in there that are said, we've had, it helps me with this, or you hear a lot more stories of how it impacts people positively, relieving pain, than it was, an awesome movie I watched, which both are very fun, or, fun to hear, but you feel a little bit better, I guess, fulfillment wise, personally when you hear, oh, I can walk again, or I'm I'm not in constant pain. So that's cool.
That's super interesting, because I always took it as like people here from Winona State, it's just a few blocks down that way, but
I guess yeah,
it's a small town, but it's still a big town at the same time,
Yeah, I guess I'm really happy we don't. I mean, I love our Winona State customers, but it is really nice not having that huge lull that, when they leave, we're not like, oh no.
You're not preparing for the summer when the business is gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Rice and beans kind of days. But
right.
No, it's definitely, it's nice. And you get just a little bit more of the community aspect. And a lot of these people that come in are telling you about fly fishing spots, or, are you guys going paddling this weekend? Or, you get some really, I've met a lot of really cool people in there. So that's a really nice aspect of it.
Yeah. Talking about your gummies that you sell online, or you also sell online.
Yes.
What are some of the difficulties that you guys have trying to have this business as an online storefront as well?
Advertising. That is by far the bane of our existence with online. It is so frustrating. Even right now, we were working with an email provider that their AI bot they saw a bag that said THC. Our email got bounced back to all of our subscribers. So we haven't been able, we just figured out how to use a different email subscriber that does allow us to have hemp, even though it's totally legal. And you just, you get a lot of bots that flag you, or they flag a post, or we have an Instagram following, but then we get a few warnings and all of a sudden it's shadow banned. Advertising on anything is very difficult. So it's hard to grow that online presence without being able to post any Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or even emails.
Yeah, that is super interesting. That's something I never had even thought about, is that the AI kind of stuff stepping in.
Yes, yeah, and with their capability to scan and just keywords, even on images, like I said, it's very difficult to do product photography. Difficult to just difficult to do anything unless you have a lot of money to either battle it or a lot of money to rebuild. So we've had small cannabis companies that we're friends with, or hemp companies we're friends with, and we talk about, what are you guys doing? Are you, how risky of a post are you going to make? And we've heard stories of completely, what we thought of is in the line posts. They wouldn't even flag it. They would just delete the account. And this small company got to a few thousand followers. It's starting to get traction, and it just gets, cut at the knees. And you're like, oh, that's terrifying.
Wow.
That's something. So we're riding that line. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just some eggshell thing you're just kind of walking on. And I mean, is it really something you can even take to legislation too?
Right.
That's just them. That's what Instagram wants to do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And you're definitely at their will. So it's, that's really difficult. So, I'd say that's probably one of the hardest things of online. The other thing is just making sure, whatever state you're shipping into is legal for you to ship to that state. So luckily with our products, there might be, I don't think there's any states we can't ship into, because we're under the I would say Iowa just passed new laws, so I have to check those. But we have pretty restricted shipping, just because we don't want to step on any toes. But the 2018 Farm Bill is a lot looser than Minnesota's bill is. So if you're Minnesota compliant, Minnesota and Florida are the most heavily regulated. So if you comply with those two states, you comply pretty much everywhere else.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes, it's our state is a good base.
It's just a good place to be,
Oh yeah.
And so then once THC products start to be, or higher potency THC products, will you be trying to offer those online as well?
Those ones I don't believe are going to be able to be offered online. Actually, the 10 milligram gummies, that will be legal in a handful of states. So those right now, you can go to a lot of different states that haven't regulated any kind of cannabis bill, and you can find gummies that are 3,000 milligrams per bag. Wow. It is insane. Wow. So we have a very kind of I guess, restrictive state. So the big thing that we need to make sure of is that if Minnesota says dispensaries can't sell out of state, then we don't sell out of state. If they say you can sell online out of state, then there's going to be a lot of states we can legally sell to under that state's hemp laws. So there shouldn't be any problem unless that the bill specifically says, as a dispensary, you're not allowed to. But I'll have to read more deeply on the bill, but I don't think I've seen anything like that yet.
Okay. Interesting. And so then for you guys, growth-wise, as legislation evolves, what are you guys looking at for growth? Will you guys have to cut into your product currently that you're growing to make room for the higher potency stuff? Or are you guys looking at like more farmland?
So we have a really sizable farm up north. We have too many acres than what we can do with. So I would be hoping we have 80 acres right now, and the biggest, wow, if we just were a grow operation, we could have 2 to 3 acres. So we would, we have quite a bit to grow with. The bill or the license I want in the bill is a meso business, and that would allow us to have 40,000 square feet outdoor, or if we did indoor grow, it'd be 15,000 square feet. But I like outdoor grown flower more. So I'd like to have an outdoor grow and then see if we can get, if we can get that, that passed and have our 3 retail locations and a small farm. So that'd be my goal for growing into the bill.
And so what are the different kind of levels that there is for the whole growing?
So I know I'm going to forget a few of them. So
okay,
but I know,
so there's a few.
I'll have a micro. You can have a micro business, and a micro business is, I think it's 5,000 square feet indoors, and then, gosh, if it's 15,000 square feet outdoors, I could be wrong on those two. I just know they're smaller. And then you get one retail location with that. The next level of growing would be a meso business, and that's, like I said, 40,000 square feet outdoors, and then if you want to 15,000 square feet indoors, you can't have both, you have to choose. And then you can get 3 storefronts with that. And then the next level up would be, if you didn't want to grow at all, you could have a retail license. And I can't remember where they came down on that, or if they capped it at 5 or if it's 1 per county. I know it's one of those 2. I just can't remember what one they sided on because they changed the bill so many times. So it's, one of those is the current, one of them is the past. Yep. And then, gosh, what's next? Oh, the wholesaling license where you're just a grower. So if you're just a grower outdoors, you can get 2 to 3 acres. Or if you're indoors, they cap you at 30,000 square feet. Then there's a few other, like a transporter license. You don't get any plants and you don't get retail shops, but all plants that are going to be any product that's going from a farm to a retail shop, or just anytime a plant needs to be transported, it has to be done by a transporter with specialized vehicles and a business specifically for transporting cannabis. There's a wholesaler license. A wholesaler license is going to be interesting. They're thinking of opening the cannabis market in Minnesota, I think in 2027, 2028.
Okay.
And that I don't like that they're opening the market there, but that's going to be interesting to see how they do that. I don't know, because that right when they open those floodgates, then Minnesota starts competing with all of these very well-established businesses. And a wholesaler license would be a very interesting thing to hold, because it could kind of cripple the price of cannabis in Minnesota. So that's going to be interesting.
Because what state was it? Oh gosh, I can't remember which state it was, but they did something along those lines right away, where they opened up for wholesale, and it was like the giant companies immediately came in and just took over the whole everything.
Oh, it's amazing how much how much money these companies come in with. And for example, there's a company right now out of Missouri trying. I don't know the specifics of it, but I know it's a big investor from Missouri, owns multiple cannabis locations down there, is coming up into Hibbing or Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and going for a growing license. I think they're trying to get enough Minnesotans on the board to qualify, but he's coming with $46 million to put into a grow, and wants $20 million more from the state to invest. So that's definitely something to be looking into. I don't know the specifics on that, but it's very kind of, I think, toes the line of getting out of state.
Yeah.
So There's definitely, and then if you add Canada to the mix, that's a huge, right on the border, a very,
Yep.
very large competitor.
Mhm.
So you get I'm really hoping they kind of keep it craft for a while, let Minnesotans compete, and then and maybe keep it that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of up for debate at that point. But
Almost hope they keep it tight enough for long enough that the small market within Minnesota grows so strong that somebody like that can't break in from out of state.
yes. And they have bulletproof ways to make sure they're abiding by Minnesotan regulation. Because you look at California, and they regulate it too tightly, but I guess they regulated too tightly, and then they taxed it too much. They incentivized a black market, so you're getting all of this bad flower that's being grown and sent into other states, or they're not regulating their shops well enough and sent into the illegal market. But it's kind of like you're just. You had regulations, but you're not enforcing them, so you're just getting bad stuff anyway. So I don't want Minnesota to run into that problem.
It's a fine line that is still trying to be figured out, and the state's taking their time in doing so, but hopefully will figure that out.
Yes, I'm hoping.
All right.
And we have some good people to look at. So.
Well, okay, so we're at about 40 minutes here. This has been great, a really great time talking to you, Justin. Thank you very much. Real quick, anything you would like to plug with your business for what you would like people to know?
We just came out. I'm hoping that whoever's on our email list gets an email today now that we figure that out. But basically, we just put out 100% compostable packaging. So we've been really trying to find a way. We had to custom make child-proof 100% custom compostable packaging and made in the United States. We're really proud of that. We wanted our gummies to not just be, eaten and then laying around. There's so many, cannabis is such a beautiful plant, especially for our environment. And it sucks to see it all wrapped in single-use plastics that are going to be with us for a while. So go on there. We use 100% compostable. It's also vegan, gluten-free, all natural coloring. And then, 5 milligrams THC, live terpenes in there. So, we made a really, really nice gummy and tried to put it in something that our customers wanted and that, we were proud to put it in. So, check that out on the website, and then it's in stores.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Justin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again to Justin from Rippled Leaf Farms. To learn more about Rippled Leaf, be sure to check out their shop on East 3rd Street in downtown Winona, or find them on Facebook, Instagram, or on their website, rippledleaffarms.com. Be sure to tune in next Thursday at 12:30 for episode 3 of our series, Legalizing Marijuana in Minnesota, when we talk about the health effects of using marijuana. I'm Ryan Flanders, and you just heard from Rippled Leaf Farms co-founder Justin Johnson on Culture Clique.
Creating cultural awareness and understanding. You've been listening to Culture Clique. Support for Culture Clique is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Culture Clique is produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. For more information, look us up on the web at kqal.org. And thanks for listening to Culture Clique.